Hey, this is Kelly with Kelly's Magical Realm, and today I'm doing a video of Jim Morrison and Charlie Manson's connection, and I only have a picture of Jim. I'm not going to have any pictures of Charlie Manson out. I love this picture of Jim Morrison, by the way, and the way my candle's kind of reflecting on his chest. It's really cool. But anyways, I happened to hear about this topic and I had to dig into this. So I did some channeling with Jim Morrison and I found out some really cool things. So here we go. I'm going to start out with I just happened to see and then read about some of Jim Morrison's lyrics that in one of his songs it might have suggested that he met Charlie Manson. Actually, his band members, the existing band members, John Densmore and Robbie Krieger, said it in a few interviews, and I believe even on their Doors website they mentioned that there was an actual meeting where Jim Morrison was in a car with Dennis Wilson and he happened to pick up Charlie Manson, and that inspired Riders on the Storm. The lyrics, there's a killer on the road. That's what they said. So I had to do some channeling. And basically, Jim Morrison didn't really have much to say about him because he said he had a lot to say actually, but it wasn't much about Charlie. So he just said, he's seen two sides to him. So Charlie, I don't know if it was bipolar or Jim was trying to suggest maybe that Charlie had, but there's definitely two sides, like a manic, maybe it's more manic depressive and stuff too. I think that happens with bipolar. But anyways, he said, Charlie, he talked about music, like he was an aspiring musician and stuff, but then, he tried to seem chill for a minute, but then just there was an angry side to him, like kind of rage and anger, just being mad about his life. Charlie was upset about his own life, like the cards he was dealt. Felt like everyone owed something to him, and Jim said he got weird vibes from him, like for some reason he had a picture of Charlie taking off his belt. Well, don't forget, Jim was psychic. Jim was born a psychic. So Jim would get visions of things. So Jim, when he met Charlie, at some point, he could just picture Charlie taking off a belt, being angry with women and people. And for whatever reason, that triggered Jim to think of his father, how his father took off his belt with him. And Jim said he really wanted to talk more about the deeper meanings in his lyrics, because when I brought up the lyrics, he said, his lyrics really had deeper meanings than we thought. Like Would You Die For Me was more about by the sword, awakening. Like I pictured him being kind of like in a room, I don't know, I'm hearing Rosicrucian, Knights of Templar kind of thing, where you're being initiated, like with a sword, and people around you, and putting that sword on you, kind of like a Kundalini awakening, what he was saying, just like the snake. Jim said when he talked about the snake, it was actually like Kundalini awakening, like that rising of that coiled energy. He kept talking about the journey of the fools, that we're all on this fool's journey. Not many of us get it right. And as far as on what we're meant to do while we're here. So he's saying all his lyrics have different meanings from things either he's seen, people he's met or heard about, and it could have been past lives. And he said he loved people's reactions he loved when people got things wrong about him. He said he loved arousing people. He loved the chaos. He loved deeper meanings. He loved doing that. And he said the rawness, he loved that up inside people. And he said the end was more like cyclical natures of life, because I thought maybe the end was about Charlie too. As far as like the blue bus, because Charlie has a blue bus. and the gold mines. Don't forget, Charlie was out, I believe it was Laurel Canyon, and he was living on Barker's Ranch where there was actual gold mines. And Jim said the end was more about cyclical natures of life, endings and beginnings. He mentioned the cobra. So the snake, he said, and then he threw in the fool's journey. The cobra is in shamanism, he said. Then he mentioned a totem. And then he went on to say, like, a high priest, a medicine man, a medicine wheel. And he said also the vast desert he was talking about too, cleansing the soul. And he did think of, while he was writing that, Laurel Canyon, as far as some places in the end. But the ancient lake, the lake that he mentioned, the ancient lake was getting cleansed of your sins in the lake, like a baptismal. That's what he was thinking of. And the killer, when he was talking about that part, he said there's a killer in all of us, killing our own dreams, and then people around us doing that to us, like killing our dreams. And weird scenes in the gold mines, yes, he said that had to do with the Mansons, things that he heard about, though. It's not something he saw, like weird rituals and dark parties in there. And I asked him about the blue bus because I thought maybe that was Charlie's too, but he said that was more something about your consciousness, like the blue bus of reality, consciousness, like different realms, like where are we going on our next trip. He was actually, oh, okay, so where are we going, like where are we going next? Oh, I see. Like he was actually referring to not only in this life, but honestly in the next life. He was honestly things that he did in that life. He was trying to prepare for his next life because he felt, again, because being psychic, he actually felt and he knew on a deeper level that not only what he was doing in his life was for his life as Jim, he was trying to prepare for that next level as well, because he wanted to make sure that he had a good life, not just in the afterlife, but then in the next life when he gets reincarnated. So he was like, driver, where are we going next? So he was trying to plan on that and it was like deep contemplation he was always doing, thinking of those deeper things. But then when I talked to him about Riders on the Storm, the killer on the road, when he was talking about that, even though his bandmates kept referring to Charlie, him picking up Charlie on the highway hitchhiking, he said, it did have a few different meanings, because when writing it, he said that he did think of Charlie at first, Charlie Manson being the killer on the road, and then he was on drugs like acid, Charlie was, so his brain was squirming like a toad. But since Charlie was such a dark man, Jim said he kind of later gave the words like a new meaning, he was more off on another tangent. So thinking of his movie, The Highway, working on that project, thinking of that, and also like Billy Cook. So he was thinking of those things. So it's like sometimes his songs, he was saying, would take on new shapes. It would start in one direction and then give it a new meaning. So basically there's that. And then he said the meeting was only once with Charlie. It wasn't a friendship. It was nothing like that. It sparked several rumors and gossip, but really there was nothing to it. It was just a thing. He just happened to meet him hitchhiking. So he said it wasn't anything really to talk much about. He was more interested in talking about deeper meanings in his songs, which I'm glad he did, because I gotta tell you something weird. When doing this, I was having the hardest time lighting my candle. Like, this is such a dark topic, even mentioning Charlie's name. Even Jim really wasn't into talking about it, but I was just so curious, and I went down this rabbit hole, and I really wanted to find out. And honestly, what Jim had to say about his deeper meanings in his song was more interesting than what he had to say about Charlie. But that is all I have to say, and I'm just gonna leave it here and just want to zoom in on that picture of Jim because that is such a good picture of him, right? I love this picture. Like, deep contemplation. He was such a deep, beautiful soul, you know? Always deep in thought. I'm just going to leave it there.